welcome back to another episode of the Green Tea Podcast. My name is Emma. I am your host.
And Grazy Grace.
Today we are joined by a special guest. I'll let you introduce yourself and tell everybody what your name is.
Hi, my name is Nurtaç Türkeli. I'm from Turkey. I'm also content creator here in New York.
Awesome. So today we are answering the question, is freelancing as glamorous as it looks? The freelance life is marked by extravagant destinations, invitations to lavish events, and popular brands gifting mountains of free products. But it's also marked by long hours and a social battery that's needed at 100% all the time. And that leads to burnout. We'll each be sharing a little bit more about our own experiences navigating burnout as freelancers, plus sharing a little bit about the astrology transits as well. Yes. You're joining us virtually today. What's that about?
So yesterday morning, I woke up and I just had to throw up like everything. And I felt a little bit like I've been feeling bloated for a couple days, but I went to the bathroom. But I think my theory is maybe from the mala we ate on Saturday, which was a couple days ago, I know. But every time I eat mala, you guys, like my stomach, I always have diarrhea, whatever. It's still good. But I think the mala has caused me like indigestion and like clogged intestines, because apparently mala is like super fatty. There's a lot of oil, it's super spicy. So I don't know, am I getting old so my intestines are clogging?
Oh my God.
Maybe.
Wow.
You guys are fine.
With mala, yes. But I just injured my neck this morning, so I'm like on the same boat as you. I'm like, am I getting older?
Well, I hope that both of you feel better soon, because
Thank you.
I hate when like you can't move your neck. And also, I've had my fair share of stomach problems also, but mala hasn't done that to me. But maybe, I don't know. I mean, I guess I hope it doesn't. Let's just keep it that way, you know? But all of us have experience as freelancers. I know that I sort of have just recently found myself in this position, but maybe one of you would like to start talking about your experience as like a freelancer and how you're navigating burnout, what kinds of things are coming up, because I would really love to hear about that.
The only like 9 to 5 that I've ever done in my life is like working at a cafe or being under a K-pop agency, and you always have like a boss and you can never do anything outside that box. So I think like I think anybody hates like having a boss and somebody to listen to. But I did like a little bit of the structure of it. But once I came out and I started making my own money through freelancing, through YouTube especially, I loved it so much because I was able to be my own boss. There's no 9 to 5. It's my own creativity. And I think it's a little bit harder to always level up when you have a boss. So freelancing is honestly amazing. I made, to be transparent with you guys, a lot of money from YouTube. The only thing is like after your peak years, like you have to constantly change your content because, the audience absolutely changes. So that's kind of where I am with the struggle. I feel like my audience has definitely changed. There's so many true crime YouTubers now. There's so many people doing beauty. So how am I going to change myself to continue this? And that's where I am with burnout. I feel like I am constantly having to create content every single day, every single other day. If I don't upload 3 to 5 days, that's like a long term in terms of online.
Do you usually upload stuff every day?
Not every day. I try to upload like 2 to 3 days, but even that is a lot. You have to constantly think of new creations. I guess sometimes it's like, well, if you were a news network, you're doing something every single day, or if you're like a drama, you have to release something every week. So if you compare it to that, it's not too bad. Honestly, I am very tired. But Nurtaç, you're very similar to me.
Yes, and I would like to say maybe more like I'm from Turkey and I studied Chinese language. So I had a little bit of full-time job experience in Turkey, but I known myself like since I was a child that I never wanted to do full-time job life. That's why I try to create myself different source of income. Mm-hmm. So like that's how I started to do social media. Before that I was like simultaneous translator to like businessman and everything. Like I was trying to find my own ways. So become more like freelancer so I could schedule myself. So that was good, but like combining social media, which comes with so many different platforms, right? Not only YouTube, also Instagram, TikTok, like you name it. Also me trying to do my own e-com work and like, other side jobs, starting social media agency. It's like, what am I trying to do? Because like me, what does freelancer mean? You know, like, do I try to prove myself to myself first? So like, I don't have a boss, so I can schedule my whole life. But right now I'm at the point like, yes, I don't know what I'm trying to do, what I'm trying to achieve, to earn money, to earn freedom, because clearly I don't have right now any of them the way I want. So like, this is where I am at. Like, I love the idea of freelancer, but maybe I didn't do the very fundamental system for myself that I have, like, I can follow, because there are so many opportunities, right? Like, especially for digital world, we do have so many ideas and so many areas, but like, I'm still trying to figure out what's best for myself.
It's really interesting to me how the very word freelancer sort of implies that there's this freedom and there's all this time that you have to do whatever you want. But then you actually get into doing it and you feel like you have no free time, or like there's, not maybe as much flexibility as you had thought. Or I guess, I know we all talked about this before, but kind of the idea that there's almost too much freedom and not enough structure, sort of what you're implying.
What would be you guys' perfect idea of freelancing?
Well, I guess for me, like, I'm sort of new to freelancing, I suppose, right? Like, I started with 9 to 5, and then I moved to almost like this 5 p.m. to 9 a.m. situation when I worked in nightlife. And now I'm here doing more freelancing work where I don't have, someone to answer to or someone to tell me what to do. So I think even for me, I'm still in the process of trying to understand and figure out what it actually means to be a freelancer. But I know that one of the biggest, draws for me was the same thing that you mentioned, Nurtaç, which is the freedom to kind of self-govern as I move along in my career and have the authority to choose what it is that I want to do and when I want to do it. But I mean, I know this might not be answering your question, but I suppose to me, freelancing, it carries the freedom that I think we all are, I don't want to say promised in a sense, but in a way we're sort of promised this like online and we see everyone else, or at least what we think it's going to be, right? Alongside though a certain amount of structure that actually supports and sustains the demands that freelancing requires. Because, like, working for yourself is really great for freedom and all these other perks, I suppose, but you also have much more, I think, responsibility in some ways. So for me, I think my ideal freelancing, if you will, has struck a balance between those things. And it becomes something that's actually sustainable, because I think that's my biggest like hole in it right now. What about you guys?
Yeah, sustainability. I think for social media, it's one of the reasons why I dived in there, because it really, like you said, promises like, oh, this is the perfect job situation, because you can even work from Bali. You can work from anywhere you want. And just with computer, you can do whatever you want. While it does not work that way, especially like you mentioned, Grace, like there are so many more influencers right now. Maybe it was a little better at the beginning. I've been doing social media for the last 6 years. And I tried almost every platform except TikTok. I don't know why we don't get along. Sure. I don't get it.
Oh, really?
No, I just don't I don't know. I don't get it. But like my ideal situation right now at the moment, especially like I think I'm gonna create my source of income with something else. And then I'm just gonna enjoy social media more like side hustle, because I try to be full-time here, and it does not really work for my mental health, because it's like constant battle every month, especially if you're not working with a social media agency, if you're coordinating everything and negotiation part, like you guys, not a joke. I cried yesterday. I cried yesterday because a brand was pushing back the way that I'm like, like, don't they see what I'm asking? Like, sometimes it feels like constant battle, and sometimes almost in a disrespectful way, unfortunately. Like, you're telling your requirements, your deliverables, and your rate. To me, it's like quite clear and professional. But sometimes the response to it, unfortunately, especially in New York, there are so many influencers who are willing to do barter. And it does not work that way anymore. Like, I can't do living here with barter.
Do you think that, I guess this is a question for both of you, Grace, as well. Do you feel like the fact that people are willing to barter their services, like with a brand, for example, has gotten in the way of creators like you who have rates and other things from getting those opportunities?
Oh,
If you know,
yes.
you know.
100%, I think. Because you're asking rate and another person is willing to do it for free, and then
Yeah.
almost like easy choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I kind of agree. I think because there's so many micro influencers now that are willing to do things for free, it's like they would be rather paying or not paying, I'm sorry, gifting all these to micro influencers, like 100 micro influencers versus one influencer who has like 200,000 followers and their rate is like 5K.
I hear, like, I actually had a meeting with my podcast agency in the morning, and they were also telling me like a lot of brands at the moment are strategizing around like micro influencers and almost no payment or like very small budget more than paying one big amount to big influencer. So like a lot of brands are doing that at the moment.
Do you guys think that that's efficient, like the best way to go about things, or no? Do you think that there's like, do you think, I feel like this is sort of like a quantity versus quantity situation, or maybe not fully, but based on what you're saying, it's like you have the option to utilize more influencers, right? Like you're not paying as much money, but you get more people versus someone who is, I don't want to say necessarily higher quality, of course. I don't mean to say that one person is individually more, that's not what I mean. But just the quality of the work that they might put out, the quality of their audience, that's kind of like compensating for one.
Shall I answer for like, because I also do influencer marketing for brands.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So like I'm also on the other side, right? But it's very minor. It's not like my main job.
Okay.
I understand why brands are willing to do that because especially most of the nano influencers, if they're legit, because unfortunately a lot of people are buying. I really don't like that, but it's their decision.
Yeah.
If they're legit, if they have legit engagement with their audience, actually, yes, that is smart.
This is just so shocking to me. I mean, shocking in a way because I don't, I'm a freelancer, but right now I don't make money like the two of you do, through YouTube or through brand deals or anything like that. So it's just super interesting to hear what you have to say because I really know like next to nothing about this.
Can you talk about like how you are working right now from like the 9 to 5 and what are your struggles trying to get into the freelancer market?
Yeah, so kind of like I mentioned just a second ago, I started from the standpoint of doing like 9 to 5. I thought I was going to go to medical school and become a doctor, in which case, these people are working like, definitely at the bare minimum 40 hours a week, but if not more. I know there are like laws in place that you don't have to work 120 hours now, but the job is very much the classic like 9 to 5. You're working all day, married to your job sort of a situation. And I think the benefits of that for me were there was so much structure that all I had to do was like be obedient and abide by the deadline. Like this is when you need to turn your assignment in. This is how many patients you have to see. Clock in, clock out, you're done. So in a way, it made things easier to follow. But the sort of, one of you said it, but to your point earlier about I don't really like being, to be frank, to be told what to do. I don't like having somebody micromanage me and always like standing over my shoulder, like trying to tell me what to do. So that was one of the things that I think really lacked in that environment from the 9 to 5. And I found myself really craving more freedom and more creative, like ability to exercise my creativity. After that, I moved to nightlife where it was sort of similar to the 9 to 5, except evening hours. So like a 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. situation. And that was interesting because I'm sure this was also because of the industry itself, but there was more freedom. There weren't as many like rules, if you will, in nightlife as there would be in medicine. If that kind of makes sense. But because the hours were so opposite of like the natural body clock, I found that my physical health like deteriorated so much working in nightlife because I'm trying to stay awake, the hours that I should be sleeping, and I know we did an episode on this before, Grace, talking to Heath about struggles of Korean nightlife, and there are definitely some similarities mirrored in American nightlife. There is like drugs and alcohol everywhere, it's not the healthiest environment even from that standpoint. So being around that all the time, whether, it was me as the, not employee, but individual being like pressured to partake in those activities or just having to serve people who are wasted like all night, it does kind of take kind of a toll. So I got a little bit more freedom than I did in the 9 to 5, but my health started taking a toll because just the hours were so not manageable. So now that leads me to where I'm at, which is freelancing. For the most part, I do try to stay within not a 9 to 5 window per se, but work from home during the day. I'm an astrologer and a life coach, and right now, a lot of my work I can do remotely from home. And so the biggest benefits that I'm finding, I know I've kind of already repeated these, but are the freedom that I get to do what I want when I want it, and the ability to exercise a creativity in what I do. Obviously, astrology is not very similar to medicine in a way, or it's not really widely accepted in the scientific kind of field. So I do get free reign to allow that to blossom into whatever I want it to. But my biggest struggle by far is the fact that I need to find structure. I need to find structure to actually sustain what I'm doing. For example, I'm also on social media now, and I'm trying to figure out a system that can help me, I guess a system and a strategy to help me create content in a way that's actually sustainable, so that I'm not like every day I wake up, I'm overworking trying to create content, and I always feel like I'm just barely making it. I don't want to feel that way when I'm doing this. And I know, Nurtaç, you've alluded to this already a few times. Like it's very easy for it to turn into a not very sustainable way of working. So
It's crazy how we feel so much quicker burnout in this generation. I see my parents' generation, they've been working the same job for like 40 years and they don't complain. And I'm like, what's wrong with this world we live in right now? We have like the best job, freelancer, and we complain and get burnout.
Well, I think it's also like we are constantly stimulated, right? Like I also often question, do I self-sabotage? Like, am I not good with self-approval? So like we're not only doing physical work, like mental work, it's also like you unfortunately like compare yourself with people on social media. It's like every single day from the moment that you're waking up, because some days I wake up like so energized and everything, and halfway I'm like, like anytime I catch myself comparing myself with other people, I'm like, we've been there, we're not doing it, step back. And I do negative self-talk. Unfortunately, I catch that too. It's like, hello, we're not going to do self-talk today, negative self-talk today. So these are the other battles, because being freelancer, working on social media, of course, looks so glamorous. It's like, especially influencers, right? Look like we do nothing. Like, oh, you're just posting something. But behind, especially, I think this is good information. We talk to brands, they give us brief and like the revisions back and forth. Like it's a lot of work. Like especially getting to know each other with the brand, building the mutual trust. It's one thing, and creating the content is another thing. And then the final part, submission. So it's like it's a whole different steps. Unfortunately, like when you post something, nobody see that, right? Like that's why, what are you guys doing, influencers? You just show the brands, like show something for us to buy, which I don't really love, by the way. I don't like constantly pushing things like buy this, buy that. But unfortunately, we're at the point like platforms don't pay enough. So if you want to be a fully content creator, we might need to partner with brands to make money.
Yeah, I feel like it reminds me of the iceberg, where it's like you see the finished product, but you don't see all the work that goes on behind the scenes or underneath it that, allows you to get to where you are.
Right. Yeah. Especially if you're like if you're working on your own without an agency, you have to pitch, you have to find the right brands, you have to prepare all the documents. It's like you are doing everything on your own.
I'm burnt out, like, just hearing about it, honestly. Like, oh my God, no. That sounds horrible.
Yeah, but it doesn't show, right? Like, it doesn't show. But even despite of everything, I still love being content creator, because at the end of the day, I feel still like something artistic that I'm doing, like using camera, editing on my own. It feels so good to me. I do love it. And result, when you watch your own video with the music and everything, it's like a piece of art to me, to myself.
I totally feel the same way.
Grace, you had said something before about how doing what you do as a freelancer, you wear a million hats And I think that's really accurate. I would just, if you have anything to say about that, I would love to hear more about.
Yeah, so I am my own cameraman, I am my own lighter, I am an editor. Like it takes me hours and days to push out one true crime YouTube video. What else am I? I am my own contractor, I am my own lawyer. Like it's a 24-hour job, to be honest. But again, like I love it. I just don't feel like going to anything else. I maybe I'm a Gemini, Emma. Like I feel like I can do many different things and I can like reflect back. Not to like pat myself in the back, but a little pat in the back. I feel like I can multitask a lot and I kind of like that. And I know some people, I'm like talking to them on the phone and they're not responding to me and they're texting. And I'm like, can you text and talk at the same time? But anyway, I feel like the worst thing about social media is that I am constantly relying on the audience, like audience to view, like, follow in order for you to get a payment. And even if it's not about money, it's like, damn, like I didn't get that much likes in this video. I've spent so much time, and our moods go up and down every single day depending on views and likes. It's kind of inevitable.
Yeah, there's the psychological aspect of, why is it that, you desire that so badly, but then there's, especially from the influencer or freelancer perspective, that's like directly tied to your income. So in some form, there's also a very practical material element that connects the two. The way that I think about burnout for myself is that it's really an emotional and relational problem. I don't want to say problem, but sort of problem. Meaning, the relation, like how does the relationship that I have with work contribute to burnout? So for example, right, just for me, I know that I've always been a really ambitious person, and I sometimes set these really lofty goals for myself. And then, if I don't reach those goals, I can be really hard on myself because of that. And I think when I was younger, I used to really attribute a lot of my own personal worth and value to my achievements. So that sort of sometimes led me to burnout, because what would happen is, okay, if I attribute my worth to my achievements, then I now am going to take on more work at my workplace than I can actually manage. But I feel like I have something to prove, or I feel like, I'm only worthy if I actually get all these things done. So now I take on more work than I actually can stomach. And then it leads me to feeling resentful, tired, burnt out, feeling like what I'm putting in is not what I'm getting out. I just find it interesting because it sort of correlates to what you just said, Grace, about how, you are relying on your audience to give you that feedback and almost that, like, I don't want to say approval, but in a sense, approval in order to keep you afloat as a creator, which is interesting.
I think it's one of the reasons why I love social media so much, because it really helped me to get to know myself more. Like, why do I react to some certain things the way that I react? And it's a great way to study, because like you constantly have chance to watch yourself again and again. So like I agree with you when we feel burnout and when we rely on the views and stuff. So like you constantly feel stressful, and then when you're stressful, it affects the way you're working, your mood and your creativity. So like unfortunately that creates the cycle that like you're in. And that's one of the reasons why I'm like kind of stepping back these days. It's like, okay, you don't have to do social media for some, I don't know, like maybe income or followers or views. Just like try to understand why this matters to you. Because like we said, right, despite of everything, I still love this field, because you guys, we created our own platform. Like we are really in this lucky generation that we have this. And like you said, yes, our parents worked for 40 years, whatever, but like, it's a different time. I genuinely find like digital world is incredible. It's just for myself, maybe because the way I cope with things is a little bit more like avoiding, like, or like I escape a lot. I don't know what is it called in psychology. So like that's what I do. I jump from one thing to another thing. I do not know how to stay somewhere, even though it doesn't have the best views, even though it doesn't have like because I'm losing followers these days because I'm changing my style. And it makes me want to quit social media, but I think it's a coping thing that I'm doing. Like if I stay and if I create a new strategy, and if I like, what is it called?
Like sticking with what you're doing?
Yeah. If I stick with what I'm doing, I know I'll get something because it always happened that way.
Yeah.
So relying on views and followers, it's one of the things that like it's so hard to not do. But when you're aware, you can control better, at least, in my opinion.
Yeah, one thing I just thought of was that I was talking to my friend yesterday and I was telling her I just became sick and it was the first day that I literally couldn't do anything. I was in bed all day. And she was like, maybe have you overworked? I was like, maybe that's also contributes because I was so stressed and we were talking about burnout last week when we all met together. I was like, our mind and body is all connected and maybe my body just shut down because of so many things and I don't realize that I'm so overstimulated and your body's like, no, like stop everything. Like everything's kind of restarting.
Yeah, I definitely think there are times where if we aren't paying attention to the cues that our body is giving us, it will inevitably reset. Like it's going to press the reset button, whether we want it to or not. So I think that's interesting. It's still crazy to me that it could be the mala. Just because I'm like,
I am blaming the mala, not my own stress.
oh my gosh. Yeah, that's so funny. What is your solution for the current problems that you're facing in regard to burnout?
Right now, I decided to focus on my e-commerce work.
Okay.
I hope it's not another way of me escaping. But, I have to see that round for myself. And I do not want to worry about my social media. I think it's one of the reasons why I found myself so frustrated and burnout. And once I figure out my e-com work, I'm planning to hire an assistant for my social media. And that's how I will probably try to handle both ways. But, I'm still questioning, why do I try to do so many things at once? That's what we've been discussing, right? It's like, am I trying to find my self-worth with the work that I'm doing? Am I just driven with success? What am I constantly trying to find? So that's why I'm trying to figure that out. But at the moment, I try to not worry about my social media, just enjoy. And I'm genuinely saying this, I just want to enjoy. And when there's a good brand aligning with my own brand, I'm happy to work. But other than that, I'm not going to say yes to work that I don't want to do because that's something I've been doing just to get money. But I was keeping myself busy. I was spending extra time to, match with those things. So I'm like, I don't need to do that. I can step back and I will only work with the brands that I want to work. And of course, financially, I'm creating another source of income. So that's why it's I'm fine.
Yeah. It sounds like being more selective with brands that actually align with your values.
Yes.
Okay, I see. Yeah, I love that.
For me, I totally agree with Nurtaç when you said enjoying. These days, I've been going back to when I first started and I had no followers. I started true crime, Instagram, beauty, because I genuinely loved it and loved about talking about it. And it became like a business where I'm just burnt out. So my go-to is I think I just don't want to care about likes, views. I want to do things that I truly enjoy and passionate about. And I think audience and money will naturally follow that way.
Yeah, I think it's so true that when we really do what we love and what lights us up, it naturally attracts the right crowd, even if it means that right now you sort of take a hit. I know you said you're losing followers, but it's because you're switching into something that actually really, it resonates with you, and it's what really matters. I'm so glad that I know you two because you've touched an area of freelancing and stuff that I haven't touched. So I'm like, this is good to know, in the future, I suppose. Apart from trying to figure out what systems I can put in place to help me streamline content creation, it's actually awareness is one of the things that you mentioned, Nurtaç. And I really want to dig even deeper than I already have into understanding, what my motivations are for the things that I'm creating and, whether or not they're coming from a place that's actually aligned with who I am or something just trying to feed the beast of social media for no reason or for, like you said, for likes or for views. I think I'm fortunate that I've thought about that before getting on social media, so I'm aware already that it could happen, and sometimes it does happen where I'm thinking about it. I'm like, oh my god, is this really the type of content that I should be pushing out if I want my channel to grow or if I want to grow my audience? And it might be yes for metrics, it's good, but for who I am on the inside, it just doesn't feel right. So I think, yeah, for me, it's about just digging deeper into the psychology and the emotions that I have about like why I'm doing things.
Astrology time. Is there something in the stars and why we're all feeling this kind of simultaneously, Emma?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love astrology. I love it so much. But yes, there is. So it's interesting. I know the three of us, for anybody watching, the three of us met up last week anyway, and shared some of our own personal struggles. And one of the things that had been happening in the stars, I suppose, is currently the North Node is in Aries and the South Node is in Libra. So South Node is energy that we are here to kind of release. North Node is energy we're here to claim. And again, North Node in Aries. And at one point, Chiron, which is the asteroid that represents the wounded healer, it was conjunct the North Node in Aries. So basically the way that that all sort of comes out is when the South Node is in Libra and the North Node is in Aries, we are called to pull away from people-pleasing behaviors. Anywhere where we are doing something to appease someone else, or we're only acting a certain way or presenting a certain image because we are worried about the way that we're going to be perceived. We really want everyone to like us. We want to be popular. We want to have a good social image, basically. Right. That is Libra energy. And that's something that, not that you're supposed to just completely abandon, but you're supposed to look at that and ask yourself, like, oh, am I doing this? So it's kind of interesting that we're having this conversation about social media as it applies to burnout, because I know that all three of us at some point have touched on, not wanting to do something because, the masses like it, because people think it's popular or because it's trendy. I want to do something that actually resonates with myself. And Aries, which is the North Node and where we're growing, is the house of self. So yeah, it's asking us to release any behaviors of like just trying to keep up appearances instead of remaining authentic to ourselves. For certain people who may be in relationships or even like business partnerships, collaborative partnerships or sponsorships that are not actually aligned with you anymore, you're called to like examine that and decide and do what you feel is best, right? Whether that's like separating from it or renegotiating like your terms, I suppose. So that's like another thing with Libra and Aries. And it's kind of interesting because I think one of the ways that we can hold ourselves back from like really embodying the Aries energy of independence and self-sufficiency, courage and stuff like that is caring a lot about what other people think of us, or really wanting other people to like us. And we will sacrifice so much of who we are just to get ahead socially. And I think it's really starting to change. I think times are starting to change where people are realizing like, oh man, I don't really want to do I don't, even as a viewer, right? Like you don't want to necessarily view something that everyone else is doing. And you can tell that they're just doing it to keep up with a trend, right? So that's that. And then the other thing with Chiron, like I mentioned, Chiron is the wounded healer. And it basically draws out the wounds of Aries in a way that will push us farther toward our purpose. So you mentioned something about this earlier where it's so easy to compare yourself to other people. And that's like one of the shadows of Aries energy is being very competitive and very comparative, always comparing yourself to other people and allowing your worth to be determined by how you size up to someone else. And again, I think that's one of the things that can kind of keep us held back from stepping into our own power is double checking first, like, how does this look? Did someone else do this? Or like, did it work for them? Or like, oh, that negatively impacted their reputation. Like maybe I should or shouldn't do that, or, oh, this person has more certifications than me, so I just shouldn't say anything, and even for me as an astrologer, by no means am I the most seasoned astrologer in the world. I mean, I'm 29. There are people who've been studying this for like more than I've been alive, more years than I've been alive. But it's the way that I apply astrology that's meant to be just different than what someone else does. Other people teach it as professors. Other people like me do coaching. Other people do astrology with psychic readings. Everyone's just different. And that's kind of the point, like all of us are here with a different strength, different abilities. And that's what Chiron and Aries is calling, I think, out of us, any blockages to fully claiming your own identity, unapologetically claiming your identity and stepping into the path that you feel is best for you. So
Blame well, not blame the stars, but I mean, like, there's something going up there. Thank God, it's not just me.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's good to know, right?
I think that's important to know that, kind of like you said, Grace, like it isn't necessarily that the stars are doing this to us, but what's happening in the stars, ironically, is mirroring like the experiences even that you and I, and us, we're all having. So yeah, I think that's really, really unique.
I guess like one last thing is going around. What is your next move? What do you see yourself in the next year or two?
Right now, I actually don't know. I'm not one of those people like who know what they will do the next 5 years or so. Like, but one of the things I really love about myself, I try to not give myself any identity. Like, I never want to tell I'm an influencer, I'm a translator, I'm a this, like that. Like, I don't want to do that. For some reason, I don't like doing that. So, like, who knows? Next year, I might even start a totally different job. I think, again, it comes down to, like, what I enjoy at the moment. And if I don't enjoy something, I want to analyze what I can do differently. So, right now, like, I don't have a certain plan for my future. I hope it doesn't sound like,
No.
Yeah, but who knows? I feel me coming from Turkey and I lived in China, like I feel like I have to do some business, like online business, just to see it. And I feel I'm going to be successful there because I've done business before. So like right now I want to try maybe my own thing at the moment. So let's see, because it can be my main income. And in general, I think I just want to, I always say something like eat the world. I wanna travel more. I wanna learn different languages, and I wanna eat like all the food.
Yeah, wow. That sounds awesome. Like, yeah, I want that too, actually. Now that you say it. Yeah. For me, I think working on building out my presence in the world in general, but of course digitally as well on social media as an astrologer and a coach, like kind of like I said already, it's something that I'm still new to doing, and I don't really have much of a, I think, professional reputation or really anything yet. People know who I am, but like by no means do I, have like a large brand or anything. But I would like to build that out a little bit. And kind of to your point, I'm also really open to seeing where things go. I used to be a dancer. I love art. I love entertainment, and so it would be really neat. Education as well. It would be really neat to get back into that or see that kind of come more into my field. Because I do enjoy seeing, say, other like astrology coaches or something on YouTube. Like I do love seeing their content, and I do think like, yeah, in some respect, I want to do similar things. But I would like to think bigger about it, and start to blend the different experiences that I've had into, like what I do now. Yeah. Having more fun and more creativity in all aspects.
Nice. For me, I would like to work with a bigger network station,
Grace,
like TV, Netflix, streaming services, and being like interviewing host. So going more broader in terms of like camera work. And like you said, hopefully I will get back into having an English album. That's always been my thing. I want to at least do it before I die and regrets. So we should do a 1-year checkup. 1 year later, we look back.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we should definitely.
Wow. Yes, that will be really interesting to see myself next year.
Oh my gosh. Perfect.
Well, thank you everybody for tuning in.
Yeah, thank you all for joining us. We'd love to hear your thoughts on burnout as well. Do you struggle with it? What do you do about it? But yeah, thank you so much for joining us, and we will catch you next time.
Yes. Bye.